Every night at exactly 11:03 p.m., Maggie Turner's porch cam caught the same strange sight. A chubby raccoon trudging up her front steps with the quiet confidence of someone returning home. Not skulking. Not sneaking. Moving with purpose. As if this was a route he'd walked long before she ever lived on the street. He'd pause at the top step, glance around once, then tap, softly, almost politely, on the bottom of the window. Like he was checking if anyone inside was awake. At first, Maggie laughed. Oregon nights had their quirks, but this felt like something out of a children's book. Her kids named him Sir Wiggles within minutes, delighted by his swaggering little waddle. What she didn't expect was what he did next. He ignored the bowl of kibble she set out. Didn't even sniff it. Instead, he picked up a sock someone had dropped from a laundry basket, held it delicately in his mouth, and waddled back into the dark. The next night he took a glove. Then one of her daughter's old dish rags. Then the corner of a box. A pattern formed. Soft, light items only. Nothing smelly, nothing edible, nothing truly trash. Everything he took looked chosen, not scavenged. Things you'd reach for if you were trying to wrap, warm, or comfort something small. Maggie tried brushing it off as weird raccoon behavior, but part of her couldn't. Sir Wiggles wasn't chaotic. He didn't paw through bins or leave messes. Every movement was intentional, almost gentle. And sometimes, just for a flicker, he'd pause on her porch and glance toward the creek like some invisible weight tugged him back. One night, rewatching the footage, Maggie frowned as Sir Wiggles tugged at a hand towel that was clearly too big for him. He struggled, nearly gave up, then turned his head toward her house before trying again, tiny shoulders tight with determination. Her smile slowly dissolved. "He's not stealing," she whispered. She watched again. Slower. "He's gathering." Her neighbor laughed when she mentioned it, until she showed him the recordings. Sir Wiggles coming at the exact same time, following the exact same path, collecting with the same quiet urgency. A ritual, not mischief. That was when real worry crept in. Something was waiting for him out there. And it wasn't food. By Thursday, fog crawled in low over the street, thick enough to swallow the glow of porch lights. Maggie pulled on boots and a jacket, stepping outside with a knot twisting in her gut. She waited beneath the porch light, breath clouding in the cold. At 11:03, Sir Wiggles appeared. He sniffed once at her welcome mat, then picked up one of her son's missing socks. The warm kind, the thick kind. Maggie felt her pulse jump. This time, she followed. She kept low, flashlight pointed toward the ground to avoid startling him. He moved behind the houses, never wandering, never rushing. He crossed the empty street, paused twice to listen, then slipped down the slope toward the creek. Maggie hesitated at the top of the bank. She'd always told her kids to never follow wildlife. But something deeper urged her forward. Instinct maybe, or the unmistakable pull of responsibility. She stepped down after him. The forest air felt wet, heavy. Moss gripped her boots, branches brushed her sleeves. Ahead, Sir Wiggles balanced across a fallen log spanning the creek, the sock dangling from his mouth. He paused at every crack of a twig. Maggie followed slowly, heart thudding, breath tight. He vanished into a thicket of blackberry vines. Maggie crouched, pushed branches apart, and froze. Nestled between two fallen logs lay the remains of a raccoon den, half flooded and crushed by last week's brutal storm. Mud soaked the splintered wood. A tiny pocket of space remained dry. Inside that pocket, curled into a quivering heap, two raccoon kits, barely bigger than her hands, squeaking faintly, shivering so violently the scraps around them trembled too. Maggie's throat closed. She pressed a hand to her mouth as Sir Wiggles crawled inside, nudging the clean sock around them with startling tenderness. A father tucking in his babies. A father doing it alone. Her chest ached. He hadn't been stealing. He had been rebuilding, piece by fragile piece, trying to save what the storm had nearly taken from him. "You're a father," she whispered. Maggie backed away, hands shaking. The moment her phone found a sliver of signal, she called the local wildlife rehab center. "They're alive," she breathed, "but weak, cold. They won't survive another night." A team arrived just after dawn, moving quietly through the mist, voices low. Maggie led them to the broken den. When the blackberry vines parted, the rescuers fell silent. One knelt beside the ruined structure, eyes softening. "The storm crushed everything," she murmured. "He's been rebuilding from whatever he could find." The tiny kits curled tighter in their patchwork nest of socks and cardboard. Their fur was damp, bellies hollow, breaths thin. But their ears twitched at the faint sound of their father's chirp. Then, the rustle. 10 feet away, Sir Wiggles stood trembling in the mud. His chest rose in quick, anxious bursts. But he didn't bolt, didn't charge, didn't hide. He watched, helpless but desperate to stay near his babies. Maggie slowly set a fleece blanket beside the rescuers, moving with deliberate calm. A rehabber lifted one kit and wrapped it gently. The kit squeaked. Sir Wiggles froze, then stepped closer, just an inch. But enough to break something open in the air. The rescuers worked fast, assembling a temporary insulated shelter a few feet from the collapsed den. Warm, waterproof, tucked beneath branches to look natural. The kits were placed inside, blanket and all. Sir Wiggles scurried over immediately, sniffing each kit, nudging their ears, their paws, checking every inch in a frantic inventory of love. Then he lifted his head. Right at Maggie. A slow blink. Soft. Intentional. Trust given carefully. For the first time since she'd followed him into the fog, Maggie felt her breathing steady. He trusted her. The days that followed blurred together. The kits improved, eating, warming, chirping louder each day. The rehab team sent updates. One video showed Sir Wiggles bringing clusters of berries and soft leaves, setting them down with the same gentle determination he'd shown on her porch. He visited constantly, never interfering, never pushing past what the humans allowed. Staying. Maggie watched only from a distance. She didn't want him to feel watched, only safe. A week later, just before midnight, a soft rustle came from the porch steps. Not frantic, not searching, familiar. Maggie opened her porch cam feed. Sir Wiggles stood on the top step. But his mouth was empty. No sock, no rag, no cardboard. He wasn't collecting. He wasn't in a hurry. He climbed onto the porch swing, the same spot where she once laughed at his antics, and settled gently onto the seat. His paws rested on the wood. His chest rose slow and steady. He looked through her window. Blink. Slow, purposeful, and soft. Maggie pressed her hand to the glass. "You're welcome," she whispered. He stayed for a long, quiet moment. No movement. No mischief. Just two tired souls sharing a slice of Pacific Northwest night. Then Sir Wiggles slipped off the swing, waddled down the steps, and disappeared toward the creek, toward the shelter, toward the babies he'd fought so fiercely to save. The porch swing rocked once in the breeze. The same soft motion it made the first night she ever saw him. He didn't visit to steal, he visited because he needed help. And in the end, he came back to say thank you.